Hi guys, welcome back to L Taylor Guitar, the show where I talk about guitars every week. That's not a good intro, I realise that. Today we are talking about the Not the Caged system, which is something I mentioned a few videos back when I was talking about whether or not you're a crappy college guitarist. I'm sure most of you aren't, that's good. And I thought perhaps I'd talk a little bit more in detail rather than just saying, hey, this thing is bad, this thing is stupid, don't do this. Why not actually talk constructively? I mean, that doesn't really seem like something I would do, but whatever. So in the previous video, I said that my problem with the Not the Caged system was that it was kind of a cheap and easy way to get interesting or edgy sounding chords. And it is completely cheap and completely nearly cheating almost, but if you actually know what you're doing and you know how to work out what these chords actually are, it can be a really powerful songwriting tool, and that's what we're going to explore now. My problem isn't the method itself, otherwise I wouldn't bother doing a video on it. My problem is that people can often use cheap and easy methods to get away with not caring about what they're actually doing, and that tells me that they don't actually care about music at all. I think that expertise-led happy accidents is one of the best and most fun and interesting ways to come up with unique sounding music. So as long as you have the expertise there, or not even if you have the expertise there, but if you're willing to put the work in and work out what it is you've stumbled across, that opens so many more doors and so many more possibilities for music creation. So why wouldn't you want to, basically? So what I'm about to do is use knowledge of intervals to work out what a chord is, basically, which might not sound like a lot, but it's tricky. It's a skill just like playing the guitar. I'm not saying you should aim to be able to do this instantly, not at all. That will come with time for sure, but you should perhaps aim to want to do that. Maybe. And you can feel free to disagree. That's honestly fine. That doesn't affect the coolness of what we're about to learn. Whether or not you think I'm a prat is irrelevant to the value of this thing. That was about as coherent as my intro, wasn't it? To understand the Not the Caged system, believe it or not, you need to know a little bit about the caged system. So let's quickly talk about that, and this we'll just treat it as a recap if you do already know. So the caged system is a way of voicing chords where you use the common open chords, and it's called the caged system because it's named after the common open chords, C-A-G-E-D. And this is actually something you already do anytime you play a bar chord on the E string or the A string. So let's take, for example, let's take, for example, a G major bar chord on the E string. So when you play that, you're actually using the shape, the voicing of an E major chord. So if I take this finger off and move this down here, it's still a major chord. Just that you might prefer it to play it like that. A slightly more complex example is let's say a G major shape. This is going to be hard, isn't it? So I can voice an A sharp major by using the pattern of an open G chord. And that's just a different voicing of what I might normally play. Ooh. Yeah, so similar sound but different voicings. If you want to know more about the caged system, I'm going to let you explore that on your own time. That's not what we're talking about right now. The Not the Caged system is where you don't bother to accommodate for those open strings. Technically, you're playing open chords because you're using open strings, but your fretting can happen anywhere up or down the neck, really. So let's take, for example, an E major chord. Let's move it around a bit. So all I'm doing there is just taking the same chord, the same fingers in the same order. I'm just moving them up and down the fretboard. And I call this the not the CAGED system because many years ago, when I was sort of co-managing a singer-songwriter, when I watched them play, I think they thought they were using the CAGED system, but I think they kind of misunderstood what it was, because they were moving the chords up and down the neck, but because they weren't accommodating for the open strings, they were getting these really interesting sounding chords. But they would always ask, hey, why doesn't this G chord, for example, sound like another G chord? And it's like, well, because you're not playing a G chord, are you? You've got an E in the root, and you're playing this, this, and this, so it's not a G chord. You just don't know what the CAGED system is. So yeah, you can totally get some cool sounds out of it, and it is a valid songwriting technique. And the best way to learn what sounds good is just to play things like I did just there and work out what you like the sound of. But as I said, doesn't mean an awful lot unless you can handle the theory side of things, which is what we're going to do now. So working out the chords is a little bit harder. Let's take this C shape, for example. This is a C major chord. You've probably played one like it before. I'm going to shove the whole thing up 2 frets. So this root note is now on the 5th fret. And what we're going to do to try and work out what this chord is just go 1 string at a time and work out the relationship of those notes. So let's start off with the root note on the A string. I happen to know that the 5th fret is a D, so therefore this is some kind of D chord. Move on to the next note, which is on the D string. This is the 4th fret, which I happen to know is an F sharp. So what is F sharp's relationship to D? It's a major third, so we have some kind of D major. Onto the 3rd note of this chord, which is the G string. Now that's an open G string, and G's relationship to D is a perfect 4. Next note, which is on the B string, which is the 3rd fret of the B string, that is a D, which means that we have a D chord with a D in it, which is probably fine. The last note is an E, an open E string. So what is E's relationship to D? It's a 2. So altogether we have got a D chord with 2 roots, a major third, a 2, and a perfect 4. And that's actually not a chord. Well, it's a chord in that there are 3 or more different notes, but there isn't a name for that chord. There doesn't even have to be, you just need to know that you're playing some kind of D major with a 2 and a 4. But now that you know what notes are in there, you know what notes you can play over the top or what notes you probably can't play. If you are a singer-songwriter, you can use this information to inform your chord choices later on. So you know that this is a D, maybe the next time it comes up you play a slightly more normal D, just for example. When researching this video I came across a really, really useful tool that will help you work out what these chords are really easily. It's a website which I wrote down on the screen and I'm just going to read it now. scales-chords.com/chordid.php. And what this does is it's a web-based program which allows you to input fret numbers or pitches or keys on a keyboard, and it will tell you either what the chord is or what it might be, which is super helpful and can just save you so much time. So that was not the CAGED system. I hope you found this slightly more useful than me just complaining about the not the CAGED system, and I hope you don't feel bad if I've said that you need to know more theory than you do. That's not my intention. My intention is that you should have that as a goal, absolutely, because music theory is absolutely creative power. I completely believe that, and if you disagree, then I don't care. Do what you want, really. Anyway, subscribe for more videos. I release videos weekly now, 4 PM-ish GMT every week, about music, guitar, music theory, music education, guitar technology, reviews, Cubase, just loads of stuff. Be cool if you would hang out a bit more by subscribing and pressing the bell icon so you know whenever I go live or whenever a new video comes out. Like the video if you want and leave any comments as well. I'll see you next week. Toodaloo.